Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fusion Podcast, the destination where you can connect with professionals in all aspects to enhance your day-to-day life and your future. You will be enlightened with 15 to 30-minute interviews with these professionals, followed with a DJ theme set to brighten up your day. Excited for our journey together here at Fusion Podcast. Welcome to the family, and now presenting to you, yours truly, your host, myself, Andrea Arenas Vasquez, also known as Ace Fusion. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fusion Podcast. Today is a special day because today we're doing something different that has not been done before here at Fusion Podcast. We have a dance freestyle edition featuring the one and only DCBX. This team right here has truly changed the scene all over the world, worldwide. They have one of the biggest events dedicated to all genres of styles of dancing. And I'm super excited to have here the two amazing stars of DCBX, Kat and Lee. How are you doing today?
How are you, Ace? Thank you so much for inviting us to be on your podcast. We're ecstatic to be here.
This is exciting, Lee and Kat. Like Kat and Lee, I'm gonna switch it up because I think it's fair that that you both take turns on being the first and second, right? So I'm really excited because I know you have so many amazing resources for dancers out there, and we're at trying times right now. We're still dealing with COVID-19, the pandemic, and how it has changed the world, especially the dance community, because of how the events, especially DCBX. I feel like DCBX is one of the largest events in the world. I mean, I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of events, and this is quality. You bring the best of the best. You give opportunity to those who are new in the dance community, new instructors from the OGs, you've done it all, Lee and Kat. And can you share with us a little bit about the history of DCBX and how that came about before we get into the projects? Because I feel like it's important to know the background and the history of how something was created so that we can get a clear understanding on what it is that you have to offer for us. Because a lot of times what is in it for us is what we ask as dancers, right? I mean, that's just the truth. And like we always ask, what's in it for me? And I want our listeners and our community to just understand what DCBX is and where it came from. Yeah. So take it from there. Take your time. We've got a good solid 30 minutes, whatever you want to do and express to us, let us know. And then I'll chime in within the middle whenever I have questions. But take it on.
And first, Ace, we want to thank you for inviting us, and we're big fans, as I've told you, and your story and journey is inspiring. And I know you said Kat and I are the stars of DCBX, but honestly, it's artists like yourself and the artists that we bring and the attendees, because as you know, as we've said over and over again, an idea is just a dream until you have people that want to be part of it. So, thank you for that support. But wow, the beginnings of DCBX. It's funny. What's interesting, people, as years have progressed at our festival, we've always added different things. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about that. And there's probably some pieces of the event that happen that the dancers may not even be aware of, because there's film festivals and different things happening. But I would say from the beginning, DCBX this was our 12th year, and Kat and I have been together for 10 years.
10 years already.
And
crazy.
Wow.
Kat missed DCBX 1, but that was the first year, and it was a hot mess, but it was awesome and crazy. And
I heard about it.
Kat wasn't there, so it was a hot mess.
It was good. And then I came in. Okay.
Kat came in and helped organize things a great deal. But that very first year, I back in the 2000s, in 2000, I took my very first Latin dance class at George Mason. So that really was the start for me. But I'd always loved entertainment. I was a magician before I was a Latin dancer. So growing up in Brooklyn and then moving to the Poconos, it was like, bagels and life and people to trees and, trees.
That is day and night, Lee. That is day and night.
Yeah.
The opposites.
I mean, I get it. It's like kind of that old school mentality, like give you a better life, like in the country. But for like being 11 and 12 and having all your friends in New York, moving to a place. So magic for me was a way to just I guess, express myself. And I, started doing magic shows, and basically had an opportunity to start this little, I went to this little party store and told them I was a magician. And I was like 10. I'm like, I'm a magician. They're like, no, you sound more like Mickey Mouse.
You
In
picture
fact,
Little Lee.
yeah. So I had to start as a costume character. So I was like Mickey Mouse. And then I met my boy in 6th grade, and then, we would go out and we would do like rock, paper, scissors as to who had to be Mickey or Minnie in these, like, in these shows. And the worst part was they expect us to do
Start somewhere.
Yeah, they'd expect us to do magic, with like Mickey hands. I'm like, do you understand this is so much more difficult than just being a regular magician? Then it was like moving on to be a clown, and then finally about 13. So I was doing shows at resorts in the Poconos from the time I was like 13 all the way through high school. I mean,
Wow.
I
It's
really,
a huge experience.
yeah, I
know you're about-
never,
yeah, it's awesome.
I never quote unquote had a real job ever. I mean, I was at McDonald's, but I was there every Wednesday doing like magic for 2 hours, So
Wow.
I was very blessed because I had an opportunity to just live my passion. And ultimately, I guess my whole life, it's always been taking my passion and turning it into something that, sometimes makes money, sometimes loses money, but at least
Right.
you try. So that's kind of the prereq for me. And then at George Mason, I discovered Latin dance. And at that point, I was really, to be honest, I was really trying to I wanted to find that special somebody in my life. I mean, that was really my intent. I was just like, I walked into that World Latin Dance class, and it was just because my boy Primo, I had like a 2 credits. So he's like, Primo, you should take this. He took me to this place, Coco Locos in DC, which is not there anymore. I think it was on 7th. And I walked in there and I was like, oh my gosh, like just the energy and the people, beautiful, so many beautiful people. And my whole younger years of doing magic, like I was like, instead of focusing on dating, I was figuring out how to get a bird to fly out of my jacket. Like, so
Priorities.
Awesome.
I was really good at that, but ultimately I had missed out a little bit on that side. So I'm like, you know what, I want to work on that other side. And this kind of creating this El Gringuito, which my first instructor named me Gringuito. It kind of created this persona, like, okay, that's like the other side of me. And bachata, I was in the Dominican Republic in 2003. I'd taken my class and I started dancing. I was actually doing magic at Fuddruckers, the one in Annandale. And
which is no longer there.
Which is no longer there. And this is like 2002, 2003. And then the manager was like, oh, we should do a Latin night. And I'm like, bro, it's Fuddruckers, like burgers and fries. But he wanted me. I was like, all right, cool, So we did it like once or twice. And then I was at Mango Mike's and I was dancing, and they were like, oh, do you teach? And that's how it started for me. But when I was in DR, I saw bachata and I'm like, wow, this is like sexy salsa. Like I had no idea. And then I asked the dancers and they were just like, oh no, this is bachata. And then when I came back, I was like, damn, why isn't anyone, because I'm a marketing guy, and I'm like, wait, this bachata is easier than salsa. It's sexier than salsa. Why has no one been like, why can I go to Google and not even have this is a time when you would Google, I don't know if we were Google searching them, but whatever we were search engineering back then, you would put in bachata and it would be like Wikipedia and then 2 posts. That was it. I mean, it was just, no one had even really spoken about it. You had Jorge Elizondo doing stuff. So I started a couple bachata meetup groups. And then it was kind of taking the leap of faith to start, to start a festival. And I had seen what Rodney and Jorge Elizondo and what's his name from, oh my gosh, from Nevada.
If I'm not mistaken, Ronnie was one of the first to do it in the States, right?
Correct.
Was it in the States or was it outside the country? I don't remember.
The first bachata festival was in Australia.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And then the first one in the U.S. was the Reno Bachata
Reno.
Festival. So it was BB, Rodney, and Jorge Elizondo, and I was
That's
invited
right.
to the festival. And it was really inspiring to kind of see it done at that level. And then after that, I was like, man, yeah, I think we could pull this off. And then there was the San Francisco Bachata Festival, and then DCBX happened basically that August. And I'll just end with this story. But the very first year, you know, we didn't hit our numbers because it was the first year, and the hotel basically was like, the party has to end at midnight. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
guys, how can we get at midnight? Like, you guys are already killing it before it even started.
That's when the shows are over most of the time.
2 days before
Like, all
the
right, we're
event.
done, guys. Go
So
home.
that was the first like dagger. The second dagger was like a day before. They were just like, if you don't pay the full balance before, then basically you're not walking in. So like we owed like 10 grand, and I had like 2. And,
oh, man.
and my boy Ramsey lent me the 8 grand, you know, which is crazy. And he got paid back. And but it was just all these crazy things. The hotel's like, you can't party past midnight. But at that point, we're like, all right, you know what? Like a good magician, you never look. It's all an illusion at the end of the day. So it's about how we can pivot and make it crazy. So the salsa room happened to be, there was this little hide in Arlington. The salsa room was like a mile, like half a mile, really close. So I'm like, all right, we can, you know, we only have like 200 people, 250 people. So I'm like, what can we afford? All right, we'll get a 15-passenger van. So basically, Franco let us have everyone come for free, like go in for free. So at midnight, shuttling people. And then it became like this crazy joke because we would stuff like 40 people into, and it was my dad's birthday. And then he was like driving back and forth. And I'll never forget Sunday, like, you know, the volunteers are all gone. I haven't slept in 4 days. And I was the one running those last shuttles. And, you know, at the end of the day, we did what we had to do to get it done. And it's grown, as we all know. But a lot of people don't realize the blood, sweat, and tears. And that first year was a disaster on a production, just on an inside from what we did, it was just like going through hell to get it done. I mean,
right.
Every time, you know, and it was crazy.
But I bet from the outside in, it looks like, oh, wow, this is the first time in the DMV area, DCBX, what? Everybody was excited, taking classes and not worrying about anything, while the team in the inside are like stressing out, making sure that everything,
every little thing is,
you know, fires are down, you know.
Things worked out. Like, I was like, Earl, we should do a salsa room, because there had never been, like, at a bachata festival, multiple rooms. And from the beginning, I'm like, no, this is like a buffet. Yeah, bachata is the main course, but no one goes to Thanksgiving dinner and just eats turkey. Let's be honest, you know.
Right.
And it was kind of like, looking back then, I'm like, bachata might not be the hot dance forever. You know, I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't really foresee it to be as big as it is now, which is incredible, you know. And I'm like, give people different dishes. So it's so funny. We're at the hotel, and then like we're setting up, and there's this little, I don't want to call it a ballroom. This was like a closet. And I was like, hey, can we use that room? They're like, yeah, whatever. At that point, they got their 10,000. They don't care what we do. So we actually had a salsa ballroom. Like, you could only fit like maybe 10 people in this thing, but we still
salsa closet.
We still had this, you know what I mean? And there it was. And then the second year, you know, I met Kat, and we just took a leap of faith, and we brought the event to the Gaylord, which I was like, this is either going to be the biggest decision we ever make, or we're going to lose so much money. We're never going to do this again. And we didn't lose money. It actually went well, and that's when I met Kat.
Yeah.
Kat, what's your story? Well, by the way, thank you, Lee. I wish I had like a round of applause noise in the background, but I don't, but I'm going to clap it up. That was incredible. It's just inspiring just to hear your story. And I've heard this story before. I think I know I've done my research about you a long time ago when I started to get into the dance, and I'm like, these human beings are just incredible what they do. I think I came in on the 2015 or 2016, one of those years where I first came around DCBX for the first time. It was just so much happening, but organized. And I'm like, how are they doing this? Like a rooftop party happening, then you have classes happening, then you're just pleasing everybody as much as you can. I mean, the whole team is doing whatever they can to be able to satisfy as many customers as possible. But all in all, I really appreciate your story, Lee. And I know a lot of people listening to right now are probably smiling, laughing, and just connecting with the Lee that they don't know. But now, Kat, can you share with us, because I do want to run into some questions that I do have about special, especially COVID-19. I want to know how DCBX been able to handle, the pandemic. And then on top of that, I know you have a special project to announce. But Kat?
I mean, I came in and, it's funny because Lisa's, I came in the second year and kind of, I actually came in the second year and I just was a spectator. So I like just watched everything. And I had just went to Peru with my family. My dad's Peruvian, my mom's Salvadorian. And we had just done a trip in Peru and we were coming back. And then he's like, yeah, come to my festival. I know you've never seen it. We did it in Arlington. Now we're doing it at the Gaylord and we're just dating, getting to know each other,
But you helped out. You did a lot.
Well, I did help out as much as I could, but it was something kind of like, here, like, this is what we're doing, like, help where you can. And I was like, I know I bounced in registration a few times. I was dancing at night. Toby Love, I believe, was the second year. Lee invited. So we were up in the suite and talking to Toby Love, and Lee had like the massive, beautiful, gorgeous suite.
By the way, segue, first year, we had Joan Soriano play acoustic at the Salsa Room. So we've had lots every single year. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So and I was just kind of blown away. I was like, okay, who am I actually dating? Like, I was like, I knew of Lee, before we started dating because he's, in the dance scene, and I was in the dance scene, but I never really met him before. So it was interesting. We're a couple now, and I go to DCBX and I'm like, holy crap, like, what are we doing here? And I did see the back end of things. And I was like, hey, this is where I can help. I started working when I was 15 and a half, as soon as I could work. I kind of at a very early age had this urge to kind of succeed, like coming from divorced parents. I was like, okay, I need to succeed in my relationship. Like that was priority number one.
Wow.
And B, I need to succeed in life and really if I have kids, when we have kids, it's we're gonna really push forward and give everything to our kids, everything. Right. So we kind of had that commonality too. Lee had worked from a very early age at 7.
Right.
And so both of our entrepreneurial spirits were whoosh. And it just was this
aligned, just alignment.
It was just, and we both had been out of relationships, and we were just kind of we're going to play it cool. We're just going to slow things down and not really go into things really, straightforward. We're long-term relationship type people. Mm-hmm. And we were just we're just going to take it slow. Just, not really, we're just going to be partners, dance partners. And it turned into this beautiful thing, 10 years later. But that's where my working since I was 15 and a half with lawyers and HR and, even with celebs, with a really prominent sports agency, those kind of things really set me up to help Lee out. And I think it was meant to be. It was just I was always on the back end of those businesses. And then I came over to Lee's side, and it was just hey, I learned all this stuff already since I could legally work. Let's get this stuff done.
I will say, to Kat's credit, some of the downfalls in previous relationships were the people I were with, they just couldn't keep up with me. And that it was just, that's just me. I am always what's the next thing? If we succeed in one place, my brain is already
what's next? What's next?
Yeah. And Kat, when I met her, she was working at Octagon, and which is a crazy sports agency. She was also doing 30 to 40 hours of privates a week in her own studio.
OMG.
I literally was running about 80 to 90 hours a week.
It's crazy.
Doing a full-time job and my dance studio. And then I would basically do that for about 3 months, crash, because my body was just hell no. So I would take a 2-week hiatus and then do it all over again.
Wow.
And hustling. I mean, it was literally I would clock out at 4:00, get to my house at 4:30, have my first student, and go until 10:30, sometimes 11:30 if there was a client who wanted to take a 10:30 slot. Boom, I was ready. Saturdays and Sundays too.
So that's so insane. When I met Kat, I'm like, man, maybe I won't be able to keep up with her because because ultimately, she definitely is someone that moves so much quicker than me. So, but it definitely has been, it's been a beautiful journey. And I'm sorry, 14 minutes later, getting back to that original.
No, this is perfect because right now what we're talking about is work ethic, and what it has taken for DCBX to be where it's at. People need to know this history, the background, so that later on, when we continue to move on to this interview, people understand what kind of work is being put into the products and the resources, and how much love you have for just DCBX and the family all in general. So this is perfect.
From the beginnings, it was always about how can we elevate this, you know, and those kind of original dealings with hotels where I felt like they didn't respect us like a normal quote unquote corporate client. How can we change that perception? And I think over time we have, and it's not perfect, but the event ultimately is really, now it's almost a growth of our relationship together. And just to give you some ideas, you know, because I'm not the young guy anymore trying to meet the cute Latin girl, which I'm very honest about that. Like in the beginning, like that's what I was like, man, this bachata is sexy, it's close, it's fun. Like this is a great way to meet Latin girls when you've been playing with silks and birds, you know, for your whole teenage years. So it made complete sense for me. But then you get past that, and then, you know, we both of us are big, we love movies, you know, we've always been big, you know, we love film, but obviously we're not filmmakers. But her sister graduated from Loyola Marymount as a filmmaker. And we're just like, hey, Emily, do you want to produce a film festival? Here's the most exciting thing. If it tanks, we'll pay for it because, you know, we're going to pay for it anyway. We have the space. So then we started the Global Impact Film Festival, which is now in its 6th year.
Well, and the crazy thing was, my sister was like, no. First she's like, no, I know how crazy work.
And she's
like
smart.
She's seen the behind that. She was my right hand girl for the Gaylord a couple, you know, when I was running around, I was like,
Hilton
here,
days.
you go help. And the Hilton, I mean, she was my right hand girl because she's super organized. Like she's learned under my belt a lot too. So like she's my mini me, and she's just like, no, I'm not doing that. And then we were like, okay, are you sure? Like, think about it. And then we ended up going to Sundance Film Festival, which is like one of the biggest. It's beautiful. And we have a bunch of like awesome people. I mean, it's like #1. And then we got some inspiration, and the whole thing was like, what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about like global change. So it's called the Global Impact Film Festival. And we've been doing that now for 6 years.
So we have that. So at GCBX, like that happens on the boardroom level, and we don't try to like hit that so hard to the dancers, because as you know, with DCBX, people are coming for what we think is probably the top Latin dance festival in the world for just the creativity of what we give. And the fact that we have found a partner in the Renaissance Marriott that really makes us feel like we're at home. Like, hey, Link, you want to do a party in the lobby and take it over? No problem. You know, they are our partners, both for New Year's and DCBX, and you know, we're there contractually through 2026. So we have a very, very long-term partner, you know, with the Renaissance. So those things magically come together, and it's the journey of you know, dealing with venues that may have not been, you know. So we had, I won't say the venue, but we had a major hotel consider our group the black sheep of all their events. You know, kind of racist, and it's also, you know, we were like, you know, and that's just unfortunately, as we have seen,
that's reality, Lee, and I appreciate you sharing that, and of course not putting anything on blast. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand the Latinx culture as they should, and they don't respect it because they don't understand and they're not educated. So it's important that you bring that up, and that does exist, so people out there that know how much work and how much, you know, you have to take sometimes as a team, DCBX, you know, that you have to deal with that. And I'm sorry you had to deal with that because people are just unaware.
It's unaware. And even, you know, even as we've grown with sponsors, you know, it's so funny because when you say like outdoor Latin one-day music festival for like El Salvador, that speaks to them and it's simplistic. But when you're like 4-day Latin indoor event with people from 50 states and 36 countries,
off the hook 24 hours,
they're just like, wait. So you have to educate. You have to educate and also let people understand. And the fact they don't understand it in a way is a good thing. That means you're doing something they haven't seen before, and that means, you know, we're kind of changing the world in a small way. And it's slowly come around, and and now, like last year, both Kat and I love comedy too. So we had Sylvia Traymore's 50 years of comedy, and she was the first female African American comic, I guess, impressionist. But
she's amazing.
we had Academy Award winner Monique, at DCBX, on.
Wow.
And she even stayed and like did some Latin dancing. So these are the things that I think have been the catalyst, and we will never stop, because at the end of the day, our goal by 2025 was to have 100,000 people at DCBX, and really to create a citywide event. And as we all know, the Renaissance can't hold 100,000 people, right? So this would be, the Renaissance would be the dance, portion. Maybe the convention center is where you have the entrepreneur side. The Marriott Marquis could be where the film festival is happening.
Right.
You have Apple right next door. Apple, if you're listening, with you. You take any of those. You want the film festival? We'll give it to you guys there. But the point is like, how can we wanted to add an outdoor street festival called the DC Flavor Fest, which we've been working for 3 years. It's just very expensive to close down city streets. So we have big plans.
So kind of like fusion thing, the whole fusion thing is kind of piecing together, and of course me and Lee are dancers, like we're still bachata dancers, but it's like as our life has grown and everything, it's adding those little pieces is also like key, it's keeping it fresh, keeping our interest fresh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, the fusion, together. Like I know you were telling us you're doing like kind of like the bachata hip hop or the breakdance and the hip hop. I know breakdance and bachata, I guess I don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Some stuff. But
people are going to be really, really shocked when they see that. I am collaborating with one of the top breakdancers in the world, B-Boy Castro. He literally, like, he's gotten sponsored before by Red Bull. So that's pretty big deal. So I'm going to be out there, and we've been collaborating, like, without people knowing. I've been taking privates with him, and he's been taking privates with me with bachata, and we're going to mix them in together. So that's going to be cool.
And this is just, and I know there's a lot of purists, and I understand. Yes, I think we all should learn the roots. If you're serious about a dance, you should learn the roots of it. But in a marketing side, like, you don't go to a movie and have to learn about the actors that are in it if you don't want to, right? It's
correct.
It's and if you don't evolve, you die. That is just the nature of everything.
That's 100%.
We were in Europe, and we saw Zouk. And we came back, we're like, and Kizomba for the first time in of all places, we also saw Poland. Yeah. We came back, we're like, man, we can't get any DJs to play Zouk. So we actually created a DVD. It was called Zouk. Do we call it
Bacha Zouk?
We called it Bacha Zouk. I don't remember.
Wow.
Bacha Zouk was like how you would do.
I think we have a DVD around here somewhere.
Yeah, it's basically how you can do like movement to bachata music. So it'd be like one tick tick tap. Back, tick, tick, tap.
Oh my God.
And again, people were like, oh, you can't do that. No, you can.
Yeah, there's no rules. Where's the black and white book that these people are putting on dance in general? Exactly. And to be honest, there's no dance in the world except for like ballet that they literally strict down to the T. But even then, ballet has grown, and people are free to express. That's what dance is. I don't understand why people restrict it. And if you don't like it, don't eat it.
Exactly. So the evolution, to me, it's so important. And, moving towards where we are with COVID-19, I think this is the time.
Lee, thank you, by the way, for the transition. I didn't even have to do it. I didn't even have to do it. I was going to ask you right now, how has COVID-19 affected DCBX? Thank you. I love this. Let us know, what are some trials and what are some trials in the areas? Like, what are some things that you two are doing in your team behind closed doors, behind the scenes, that you're doing to keep us safe, to keep us still actively and still gaining that dance knowledge that you all provide to us yearly with the DCBX, bi-yearly, I would say, because New Year's Eve and DCBX in August. So please let us know what are some things, that way we can get into COVID-19 and what is it that DCBX has done to overcome and adapt.
Well, I mean, the last event we did was at, we were doing a weekly event at the Eaton Hotel. We had our weekly events at Lucky Strike, which is now closed,
Yeah,
permanently due to COVID-19.
That's right.
So, I mean,
Wow.
this really, the entertainment industry, beyond just dance, and obviously we are the entertainment industry. Our industry is going to be and is hit the hardest, right? We were the first to shut down, and we're all probably going to be the last to kind of reopen in a way,
Correct.
because our event, our style, what we're all doing is literally exactly what COVID-19 is used to help we help spread it, right? It's that connection that is so beautiful,
It's
right?
that physical connection. Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is a time to evolve, and it's also a time to look at other ways to connect with people virtually. And I know a lot of people are kind of pushing against it, but it doesn't make sense to me. Any promoter doing contact events in 2020 is just, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when someone's going to get infected. I mean,
Right.
just an event that someone did here in the DMV, one person infected over 20 people, and that was very, very, very small event. So, people have to be smart, and they have to realize, like, it may be difficult. If DCBX, with the amount of events that we have and the amount that we have to lose,
Wow.
have figured out, you know what, we have to go virtual, then they should too. And back in March, it was tough, but we were like, okay, this is going to be bad. I mean, we both felt it, and we wanted to be prepared.
And the other thing is, the question that we always pose ourselves is like, would we allow our family members to go
Yeah.
out to a major event like DCBX or even a weekly event that has 200 people or so, like, and for us it was like, okay, if we wouldn't let our mom, our sisters, our brothers go, why would we invite the whole world, everyone else to go? So we made a really conscious decision saying, hey, we're going to be responsible. We want to make sure everyone is safe first, so we can come out of this stronger and dance our butts off in 2021, but we're going to keep our community safe. That's the
Right.
number one thing. People are dying.
So that was
real.
that was the first caveat. The
Yeah.
second was, how can we elevate the scene and introduce it to new people during COVID-19? Because let's face it, people are still in relationships. People are still, the dance community is a community, and it brings people together. And a lot of those people are introverts who kind of use dance just like me. Like, I'm like, I was doing magic tricks my whole life, but then I'm like, man, I want to get out there. I want to meet someone. So dance was a way for me, like, literally to connect. And it's the same for a lot of people. So in April, we created 2 online courses that are still available right now. The first is called Flirting on the Floor, Latin Dance Date Night. And
I read about that one. Luckily, I was still recovering from COVID-19 when I had COVID-19, and I couldn't really see a lot of the events that was happening during that time. But I'm going to take a look at that, because I did look at your website, and that's pretty amazing that you did that. I appreciate you doing that for the community. That's needed.
Yeah, and it was, the course was, we were like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be with their significant other a little bit more than they may potentially be used to. I mean, for us, it's no problem. We're together 24/7, but that doesn't work for everyone. So we're like, hey, this is a fun way to like have like a date night. You could even like print a coupon on the website, to like kind of give it to your loved one. And then we were thinking about, what about the dancers in the community whose significant other doesn't dance?
That's right.
So this is a way, because it's really like, we weren't teaching like flips, there's some advanced stuff in there, but it's merengue, bachata, salsa. There's about 90 videos, about 30 per genre. And it's really just a fun way to connect. So we have Flirting on the Floor. And then we started talking, and we're like, all right, well, what about if they're by themselves? So then we launched Gringos Can Dance. And and that was just a fun way. Really, it just took me back to my roots of like, in the beginning, not knowing anything. So this was really just a way for people to build confidence, to learn again, merengue, bachata, salsa. It was the same format, and give them an opportunity to kind of hone some skills, so that way when they do come out, they'll be they'll be dancing again. So that was in April. And then obviously DCBX was postponed this year. And we decided to do a full virtual DCB. We did DCBX virtual, and that was incredible, right, Kat?
That was amazing. I mean, DCBX virtual, it was a huge learning experience for us.
Yes.
Because having to go, and our biggest obstacle, I guess, was making it DCBX, because, you know, at that time it was August, and at that time a lot of people had been, you know, experiencing Zoom, just getting on Zoom, just starting to figure out mics. And there were a lot of these, you know, the YouTube videos are endless of all these Zoom craziness that happens, of, you know,
Right.
significant other walks behind naked and all this kind of stuff. It was
Right.
and we were, and then we had to produce this festival with,
Yeah,
you know,
Ace is like, what type of Zoom meetings are you
Yeah.
doing?
I've heard about those, that somebody hacks into your meeting and they just do the outrageous stuff.
yeah, and then the
That's
Zoom
crazy.
and all that kind of stuff. So we were like, we don't want any of that to happen, A, in our virtual festival, and then B, we have to make it DCBX. We have to make the spirit of DCBX, people coming together, people, you know, even though it's virtual, having that essence of being like, hey, we're in this together, guys. We're gonna mold through this. And then the technology side,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
endless testing and endless, probably, you know, whatever a lot of artists have gone
Oh,
through,
yeah.
mics,
Pivots.
and yeah, pivots.
Well, and as Kat's talking about this, it's just invoking this emotion in me. It literally felt like year one of DCBX.
Right.
And
we do
yeah, it's so interesting because
brand new thing.
yeah, like we can go into a hotel and create magic because we have 10 years under our belt times New Year's. We have almost
We
20,
walk in and we
20
we
years
know,
of producing A caliber events. But
Right.
we produced a virtual festival. So it was challenging. I mean, we had instructors, we had 35 workshops. We had instructors from Brazil, Portugal, Russia, India, the US, Mexico,
We had live
interviews.
Q&As, which were so beautiful. Those live Q&As, like it's kind of like what we're doing here, where it was just
Yeah.
a story and the
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and so
we had
gorgeous.
the instructor. They did 45-minute workshops, and then we had them come on to answer questions live. And some of those interviews, you know, there weren't a ton of questions, so it became this one-on-one. And it's so funny because after that festival, I told Kat, I'm like, I feel more connected to the artist than I ever have at a live DCBX.
That's right.
Because at DCBX, literally, like, our connection to an artist is like, oh my gosh, welcome! I'm so glad the team got you here. See them on the rooftop. See them come on. See them in the
Unless you're like me, I go looking for y'all. I'm like, how y'all doing today?
So it was so cool to like connect in that way, and so DCBX Virtual was a success, and we learned a lot. And then literally the next week we produced the Global Impact Film Festival virtually, and it was a lot easier because, you know, we didn't have to figure out how to have 4 DJs spinning from 4 different countries at one time in different rooms, which, you know, we did achieve with DCBX Virtual.
That was nice.
But we had some incredibly moving, like we had a couple filmmakers from Iran, and I don't want to say it was their government or whatever, but they were blocking them from, like, everything stopped working, and it was on their side. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. Like, I don't know who's trying to stop this, but we're going to get your message across. So we had them text in their responses,
into our chat.
and then we're like, you know, what is it like producing this type of content when you're being censored? And then we would like literally pop up what they said, and so we were still able for them to share their message. And these are filmmakers that would never really get to share what they were doing. And we had filmmakers from Venezuela and Iran and all these places, and it was so moving. And again, we felt so much more connected because the film festival for us is popping up like on a Saturday when we just need like 30 minutes and like just going into one of the screenings, and then at the end just like giving the awards to the, like, so we have gotten to experience our own event in a way that we never have before, and it's been a beautiful thing. It's also given us a chance to almost feel like an attendee again and connect in that special way. So that was super cool, and now we're here. We, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but we have done almost 80 virtual events for nonprofits, corporations,
Wow.
fundraising events. And we have been very, very busy, sometimes doing 2 or 3 virtual events a day. So, we're not telling this to people to, to be like, oh, we have it all figured out, but we just want people to know that there are still people being successful. There are still people making money. You just have to look a little outside of the box, and you have to embrace the technology, because if we didn't do the homework in March, March, then we produce our courses, then like by 3.5 months later, we produce 2 full festivals, and all of a sudden we have 70 virtual events. That was all a buildup. Like if those 70 events came to us in July, we would have had no idea what the hell we were doing, but we had 5 months of a lot of error, not even trial.
and the beautiful take home of that is like, when obstacles come in your way, don't take them as like, oh, okay, I give up. No, it's like take that obstacle, own it, go past that obstacle and keep going. Because a lot of times I think, for our entrepreneurs or for anyone coming up, it's like they see a stop sign and they're like, okay, like, hold on, I guess that's not meant for me. No, it's actually a learning experience for you. And that's what it was for Lee and I. Even DCBX, it was a huge, like, mentally it was exhausting, because we were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Like, we figure out this technology side and quickly. And it wasn't until like it was actually go time, there comes to a point when you're like, well, we're doing this and it's go time and we're going to do it no matter what. And it ended up, at the very end, we were like, after the event finished, we were literally like cheersing, and we felt this like such a gratitude for the people that were on, and that put the time in to come and like talk to us and like be interviewed, like Afro Latin Connection. There were some conversations with them that were like, I mean, it was supposed to be scheduled for like a 15-minute thing, and it ended up, I think, being like an hour, because there was so much love there. You could feel it. And there was, and then afterwards hearing the reviews about, how people really enjoyed it, that it was something different, and that, even though it's virtual, like they felt the love and the energy. Like that's really where after you get past that obstacle, you're like, oh, forget that obstacle. Give me another one,
And I think what Kat is saying is so important, because we have our like Latin diversity program that we do for corporations and nonprofits, etc. But I was like, maybe we should create something like that we've never done before. And we're doing we have 1,000 silent headphone units, which is our Shut Up Just Dance. And obviously with COVID, that is kind of all stopped. But one of the last events we did, a couple students of this nonprofit, they got on stage, and then they were like singing, but lip syncing, because you can't hear them because you have the headphones on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like lip sync battle. This is like and so I was like, why don't we just create this virtual lip sync show? We're basically using Zoom. So Kat's like, this is nuts. And then like, so we created this promo video and sent it to, different agencies we worked with, etc. And the promo video actually had no real footage from a virtual show, because we had never done it. We didn't even know how to do it. But it was like we had enough. We pulled some stuff from YouTube and borrowed some other people's
examples.
Examples, creative examples. Now we have a real promo video, I'll say. But we created this show, and half of those 70 virtual shows were the virtual lip sync battle, and it's so much fun. Like we basically like we do Aladdin. We have all these virtual. It is crazy, and it's something we never thought we would do. But at the end of the day, we had to pivot, and and it's just like the thing, like you have to just find ways to be creative and have fun, and it may take you in a direction that's in a different path. And one thing we want to tell all the dancers, and I know we're going so over time, but DCBX On Demand, which is the next thing that's coming out, is our goal was like, how can we keep the scene afloat? Because if festivals, even if all the major festivals survive, which is probably not going to happen, just because 1 out of every 5 restaurants and nightclubs are closing. So you got to think like we're kind of somewhere in that boat. But if all the major dancers in the world, like if 50% of them are like, you know what, we can't survive doing this anymore, or we're moving on to other things, like what is going to happen to our industry? So DCBX On Demand was like, how can we literally form partnerships? Like, and really the instructors, it's a 50-50 on what is coming in from the workshops that they give, and it's $10 a month for. So basically, DCBX On Demand is a way for people to learn from their favorite instructors for $10 a month. They're teaching
Wow.
their 10 favorite moves, and then
So for $10, I can learn a move from all these instructors that you're pretty much partner with. $10.
$10.
Are y'all listening to this? Come on, listeners. This is just $10, and this is an amazing way to give back to the community, because a lot of people are always asking, how could I support these artists? How could we, continue to put something in their pockets? Because a lot of us, again, this is what we were doing full time, a lot of us, right? And this was our income. This was our way of living. So those of you out there listening, whether you are an artist, a student, I mean, we're all students, we're nonstop learning students, right? So, wow, this is just amazing, Leah and Kat. Thank you so much. Can you give us a little bit more on how this will work? Where can we sign up? If I want to sign up. Where do we do this? Well, and who are the artists? I mean, I want to know what's in it for us, right? Right, listeners?
You're gonna have an awesome opportunity to learn from Ace, and who knows, maybe a couple now there's going to be some of that fusion stuff.
Hey. Of course.
But we have, we wanted to bring some of the newer artists, and so we have Milton Martinez from Mexico, Scott McDonald from Florida, incredible salsero, Tina Cavechi, Jenny Gesca doing samba. We have Monica Batista, who's doing kizomba and lady styling.
Wow.
From Europe, Azella and Cindy, who are just incredible, kind of like the central side of bachata. We have Christian and Catarina from España.
But the bachata crew.
Yeah,
they're awesome. Incredible, authentic bachateros, of course. Yourself. We have Bonatillas from Sweden and Dominican Republic, and then
wow, they're amazing. They're always going back and forth from Euro to DR, so they know what's up.
Yeah, when we went to Sweden, we stayed with them, and it's just incredible. And then we have Melissa and Mark from Brazil. They are our favorite Zouk artists. So we're gonna be adding new artists, and like I said, we wanted to make it cost effective. We also wanted it to be a way that we can give back to the artists, and also have an opportunity to just share. And it's going to be at dcbxondemand.com. The platform goes live on November 1st. And
wow.
People can sign up. It's $10 a month, but if they want to pay for 6 months, they save 10%, or 12 months. So it goes up to literally like $8.50 a month. But for us, it wasn't. This project is more about how we can give back, and just everyone can stay afloat, and maybe bring some new people into the scene, and these artists a platform to connect with, and we're hoping, knock on wood, DCBX 13 at the Renaissance, August 27th to the 31st, 2021, that the on-demand artists will be, some of those highlighted artists that that will be there. Awesome. So it's dcbxondemand.com. If you find yourself with your loved one and wish they were dancing, or just want to do a safe dance date night, you could go to flirtingonthefloor.com.
Is this for all levels? All levels are welcome?
Yeah, all levels. Flirtingonthefloor.com and gringoscandance.com. Those are definitely built for the beginner intermediate dancer, because we want to really kind of flush the new blood of the future of dance. But again, like we were saying with couples, like if you are a Latin dancer and maybe your significant other doesn't dance, this is a great way to just kind of do something fun together in a basic way, and then learn some cool moves. DCBX On Demand, I mean, like we told you, Ace, we're like, hey, we want to know what is your 10 favorite moves that you love to do or teach, and teach those in 10 minutes or less. Because I feel like people, especially with everything going on, people don't have so much time. So in 10 minutes, you can learn like a really cool move, then maybe get a little samba from Jenny, and and then maybe pop and learn a little zouk from Melissa and Mark, and 30 minutes later you're, finish your coffee and out the door. So that was the idea of DCBX on demand, more intermediate advanced for like those in the community that still want
Perfect.
Have that craving too,
Yeah,
of dancing
craving,
and
yeah.
want something.
That's just genius. Like one dance move from each of those instructors that could really enhance a dancer's way of dancing, because if these dancers are already, they know their fundamentals, they got that ground, and then if you add on one move, because I always tell the students when I'm teaching them, of course, options is everything, right? But when you just focus on one move and then build from there, from that move that you like, it's the world is yours. I always tell them learning one move at just specifically, learning a couple moves at a time is key to becoming better and better, and really like a clean dancer, because you don't want to learn a whole bunch of patterns, and that will clog up your mind and you wouldn't know what to do when you're listening to the music. But when you learn one dance move, that's so genius. That's genius.
For $10 a month, we have 12 instructors that have each sent, we have 10 moves. That's 120 moves. And each month there's going to be a couple. So every month you're going to get another 15 to 20 moves, or,
And the beautiful thing, it stays current because our instructors are constantly giving us information. So let's say, Melissa and Mark decide to, do a performance, and they take a little piece of that, of something that's so fresh, it's awesome. It's going to be such a creative element for people who already are intermediate dancers that want more.
So we're excited about that.
Excited.
And the last thing we're going to tell you is November 15th, we're launching Gringuito sauce.
Woo! Wait, because I know you've been up to cooking. It doesn't matter. We're going to go over on this episode, even if I just do a 10-minute mix. I just feel it's so important, because this could also affect a lot of our emotional and mental well-being, as what you provide for us is a resource to be able to have this source of, way of just expressing ourselves. So please, Lee and Kat, just don't worry about the time. We've got plenty of time. I'll do a 10-minute mix for this. It doesn't matter right now. What matters is that you continue to provide with us, Tell us about the November 15, the Gringuito sauce, El Gringuito sauce, or whatever it is. And then the last question I do have that I ask all of my guests when they come to Fusion Podcast is, how has music changed your life? How has it healed you? How has it played a role in your life? And you can give me both perspectives, which I'm sure music is an emotional part of Yas life.
No, without a doubt. Yeah. So quickly on the Gringuito sauce, it's so funny because I'm a big foodie, and we both love food. And when we travel, about 2 years ago, I started dabbling with making my own hot sauces. And last year at the festival, I'm like, all right, well, my family loves the hot sauces, but let's test it on the artists. And I hate to use the word test, but it's more, let's let them experience the hot sauce. So I had my cilantro sauce, and then my pineappleito. So those are some of the earlier ones. And it was so funny. I think it was either Dejan, I know someone, but they basically—
Dejan, I was about to ask you, does Dejan have anything to do with this type of sauce that you're creating? Nah.
But
he's all about this got sauce. His shirts.
He wants me to label like a couple cases with the got sauce. I gotta talk to him. But it's so funny that they were like talking. They're like, they're like, Lee's dancing is pretty good, but his hot sauce is so much better than his dancing.
Oh no.
That was so funny. I'm like, wow. I'm gonna take that as a compliment. So then things, about 3 months ago, actually during COVID, we decided to build this garden. And it was just crazy. And I've never built anything like that before. It took about almost 2.5 months. It's 20 by almost 45 feet.
It's huge.
Built fences, and it was therapeutic. It was so cool. And we just built this beautiful garden and been growing peppers, poblano, habanero, sriracha peppers, eggplants, tomatoes. So we have all these peppers, and then we're making these hot sauces. So my friend Juanita, who used to work for Food Network, is like, you have to meet my buddy Dave in East Falls Church. He has, by the way, incredible, if you like vegan sausage, it's a disturbingly delicious foods. Wow. And he has a storefront, and this guy, he has 77 different hot sauces and all natural, like organic, and just incredible. So I met him, and then we started chatting, and you know, it's like, all right, let's do this. So basically, we're producing 3 sauces. The first is a pineapplito, which is a pineapple habanero fusion. Then we have
Mm.
the cilantro Sancho, because all of these hot sauces are gonna have actually characters. It's
That's cool.
the cilantro sauce, which is cilantro based, and then we have the holiday hot cranberry, which is like a cranberry, honey, habanero, jalapeno hot sauce to like spice up turkey, because us gringuitos have just boring ass turkey for Thanksgiving.
But not y'all. You're not you.
I learned a Peruvian recipe for
so
turkey
good.
many years ago with panca, and like literally you baste it with a full 2 liter of Coke, which is nuts. But if anyone's listening, I don't care how you make your turkey, just base it with a 2 liter of Coke. The whole damn thing, slowly, it does magic.
Changes it.
But anyway, we're excited about this because the hot sauce is going to be the only hot sauce in the world with artificial reality technology that's going to actually teach people how to dance. So when you scan the bottle, Kat and I are going to pop up. We're going to have a little recipe. And for us, this is like the ultimate way, kind of like when we wanted to do the outdoor festival, is like, how can we just, you know, everyone loves most people like hot sauce, and these are not the spiciest, so most people's palates should be okay. But it's really like, how can we introduce more people to what we're doing? So this is just a way to kind of connect, and yeah, we'll be shipping before Thanksgiving, so you'll be able to holiday hot, and so Gallito sauce,
they're so amazing,
is going to be up, and we're excited about that project. But Kat, music, how does it transform your life?
Right.
Okay, so back to the question. Yeah, so I mean, music has been in my life forever. My dad is, like I said, is Peruvian. My mom's Salvadorian. So it's interesting because I got the salsa side from my dad. My dad, ever since I was little, you know, I remember, you know, my fondest memory is like of us always having parties in our house and me being around the coffee table just dancing in circles to salsa music. I mean, it was just like, my dad is just like straight like old school. Then you have my mom's side, which is Salvadorian, and it's all the bachata. You know, it's like at a very early age, I got into Aventura and Romeo Santos, and went to the Aventura concert when I was like yay tall. I mean, I was like 14 at that time, something like that. So it's like,
they were probably called the teenagers during that time still.
Yeah, little teeny boppers. And I mean, all like life is always we've always had music, you know, being in a Latin household. And then, you know, when I met Lee, you know, at that time when bachata was just starting to get hot, it was always like your main music was salsa, and then you would just like either take a break in bachata or you just be dancing a couple steps side to side. It really wasn't evolutionized as it is now, where there's tricks and flips and all this stuff.
Right.
When I met him and then we started doing like the festival circuit, it really opened my eyes, and that's been like the number one thing in our life. I mean, that stayed, you know, strong through our relationship. You know, every now, you know, we'll always be like hanging out, and the first thing that we do is put on bachata and we'll just dance together, and it's such an intimate, beautiful thing. So I love it. It's beautiful.
Wow.
I think for me, dance has been a way to connect,
right?
And also, you know, using it as a mechanism to bring people together. And I'll end with this. It's like every year at the festival, I have this one moment. I'm by myself at some point, and I'm like running, and it's usually late, and I just stop, just for a second, and I just look. And I just look at like from the back of the ballroom, you know, and it's so beautiful because you just have kind of this landscape of moving people connecting in a beautiful way. And it's at that moment I'm like, you know, and I'll even get a little emotional, you know, being like, wow, you know, all of that hard work, all of that energy, all of the no's that became yeses and the maybes that became let's do it. Has produced this, and how this has, you know, now these people are going to take that and they're going to bring it back to their city, or they were having a terrible day, or now they're happy, or they met the love of their life. You know, the point is like, it's just like that moment of realizing like, wow, it's really from the base, it's the music that I don't know, brings us together in a way that's so special and in a way sacred, you know, and that's something that I guess we're so blessed to have the opportunity to share with the world. Cause I think we all have these gifts that, you know, God has given us. And it's like, some people never discover what their gift is, you know, they go through life and we're very fortunate, I believe, to have found out pretty early in life what our gifts are and how we can maximize the opportunity to share those gifts with the world.
Wow. Thank you so much to both of you. This has been such an incredible interview, so intimate and so like y'all just willing to share a lot. And I appreciate that from the both of you and the DCBX family for putting all of the work that you've been putting for 20 years. Because if you can count both events, because those are events that cost you, you know, you have to no sleep during those weekends, and it's just so much quality that y'all put into it, and the quality and the production of it is just insane. And I'm very proud to be able to be part of the family and be able to join y'all on these projects. And you already know, Lee and Kat, like y'all can count on me for anything and everything. I mean, you already know, Lee, I'm like, just tell me what I got to do and I got you. I'm always willing to give back to the community, especially leaders like you both that have, you know, led the way for us to continue to do what we love to do, whether you're a student, dancer, instructor, musician, all in all aspects, you know. And I appreciate you both so much. And last but not least, please let us know how we can stay connected with you. Your social media handles, if you don't mind. That way people can know where to find you both.
Yeah. So Instagram is at DCBX Events. People can go to our website, which is dcbx.org. Our Facebook is just DC Bachata. You'll find us there, and yeah, that's usually the best ways to connect with us. And obviously, I rattled off the couple of websites, which all have Instagram handles, but it'll take too long. But
we'll go ahead and post it on this description so everyone will. And I will. I'm gonna go ahead and look at that flyer and all the names that you mentioned, because I would love to share this with the instructors who are gonna be part of it. That way we can help push, and that way we can help spread the word. I think it's important that all the instructors know that, hey, it is a podcast, is a special dance edition, and this is for all of us to help each other, and it'll be a great push. And I think if I miss anybody, just help me tag them onto the comments. That way they know that this is out and their name was mentioned here. That way they know to help push it out and help spread the word, right? That's what it's all about. So again, Kat and Lee, just last thing that I always like to do, but if there's 5 words, just a sentence or something, if you could just both close your eyes, please. I invite you to just close your eyes. And if whatever you believe in, the higher God, whatever you believe in, whatever it is that's in your heart right now that you feel that someone should or may need to hear at the moment, whatever that is, from each of you, a sentence each, can you tell us what that is, please? And closely, I invite you to open up your eyes. Kat?
The first thing that popped into my head is love is healing. Just not even 5 words. Love is healing. Just love.
Wow. Oh, so touching. Thank you, Kat. It helps me heal. You know, Fusion Podcast is for my own personal reasons, but at the same time, I know others are healing with me. What about yourself, Lee?
For me, it was believe in the impossible, because sometimes the things that, you know, even the things that people laugh about, like, oh, you can't have a bachata festival, you know, well, the impossible has become reality. So no idea is crazy enough unless you put a shot at it.
And that could be in all aspects of life as well. Nothing's impossible. Change is possible. Healing is possible. And becoming better and better every day is possible. So, you know, but thank you both so much. Just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know, thank you so much for tuning in here, featuring DCBX Freestyle Friday edition with the very first dance edition. And just remember, next edition is going to be very special. Special is going to be a spiritual awakening edition. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to mention when that's going to drop, but it's going to be a surprise. So thank you all so much. And here we go with the 10-minute mix.
DJ Ace is in the mix.
maldita mujer, la que viste y calza de pies, la que penetro y la acaricio la piel, y obviamente lo mismo hace usted. Mi hijo, esto no tiene sentido, estás muy confundido. Esa mujer es mía y de nadie más. A otra se te está pareciendo, pero muy bien te entiendo. De ti acepto una equivocación. La conozco bastante, lo sé. No la creo capaz de que me sea infiel. Si tu padre tienes que entender, no es la misma, se pueden parecer. No seas terco, padre mío, como el agua confundir. Desde niño nunca cambias, digo no y tú dices sí. Lo respeto, viejo mío, pero tengo la razón. Ya te dije, lo repito, es una equivocación. Ella se burla. What do you What do you What do you mean? When you nod your head yes, but you wanna say no. What do you mean? Hey, yeah. When you don't want me to move, but you tell me to go. What do you mean? Oh, what do you mean? Said you're running out of time. What do you mean? Oh, what do you mean? Better make up your mind. What do you mean? You're so indecisive, what I'm saying. Trying to catch the beat, make up your heart. Don't know if you're happy or complaining. Don't want for us to win, where do I start? First you wanna go to the left, then you wanna turn right. Wanna argue all day, make love all night. First you're up, then you're down, and in between. Oh, I really wanna know, what do you mean? When you nod your head yes, but you wanna say no. What do you mean? Hey, yeah. When you don't want me to move, but you tell me to go. What do you give your all to me. I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I give you volví de nuevo, mami. Otra vez. Es Tuaro. Ahora que empiezo a ver la luz, porque la quieren apagar, que no les bastó tanto dolor, o lo que quieren es que mueran por amor. Ay, no, ya no, no quiero más verme llorar, que no veía cuánto dolía amar a quienes no me querían. Y ahora que encuentro tu compañía, y allá habladuría, si por amarte hice brujería, que te robé el alma y que no es mía, que te devuelvan la razón. ¿Quién pensaría que se te fuera quien más quería? No fue tu culpa ni es culpa mía, solo pide de tu corazón. No es brujería. Ay, amor. aquellos labios susurrándome al oído. Las noches más bonitas contigo he vivido. Te tuve entre mis brazos y no quise ver que fuimos más que amigos. Dime ahora cómo te olvidó, porque sin ti me derrumbo. Me he dado cuenta tarde, porque sin ti me derrumbo. Perdido en este mundo, mi alma lentamente arde. Sin ti me derrumbo, me he dado cuenta tarde y pagaré mi error. Antes tú me querías como ahora te quiero yo. Quien tiene boca y no equivoca, tira la primera piedra. Quien no ha pecado de tenerlo justo al lado y no saberlo ver, no seas tan cruel, porque sin ti me derrumba. Porque sin ti me derrumbo. Perdido en este mundo, mi alma lentamente arde. Sin ti me derrumbo. Me he dado cuenta tarde y pagaré mi error. Antes tú me querías como ahora te quiero yo. Ya es tarde, no digas nada más, ya sé que...
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you all so much for tuning in here at Fusion Podcast, the very first time Dance Freestyle Friday Dance Edition featuring DCBX Dance Family. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And don't forget, we have episode number 10 coming soon with Ana Masakote, all the way from Boston. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Ace Fusion Entertainment LLC. There you'll find the conversation in the mix. And if you just want to hear the conversation, go to Anchor. Thank you so much all for always the love and support, and we'll see you on the other side.